So, I've got a short amount of time before I need to catch what other deals are happening as part of Black Friday. It's not a day, it's actually more than a day. Or whatever they call it now. So, I look back at last week's Golden Joystick Awards, which I voted for solely from what I can tell by the members of the public. But, I mean, some of the calls here, I would argue, is a little bit strange. So, going through the list, we've got Best Original Game, which is Overwatch, which is, I'd say, fair. Best Storytelling and Best Visual Design went to Witcher 3 Blood and Wine DLC, which I think is a good credit. Best Audio goes to Fallout 4. Yeah, I sort of understand that. Best Indie Game went to Firewatch in somewhat of an actual very competitive category. If you think about it, when you've got games like Inside and Firewatch and Stardew Valley and The Witness and quite a lot of games that are indie. Sean Day 9 Plot got Gaming Personality of the Year. Best Multiplayer went to Overwatch. Again, I can't argue with that. Competitive Player of the Year was Cold Zera's quad kill in Counter-Strike at the MLG Columbus major. Best Gaming Moment was Overwatch for Player of the Game, which is a bit cheating because I thought it's a defining moment. Play of the Game happens every round in every game. I like the concept of it, but whether it's actually like moment singular, because there's going to be God knows how many every time, I don't know. YouTube Upcoming Personality of the Year went to Jesse Cox. Yeah, the guy who's been doing YouTube stuff for the last 3 or 4 years is being considered an upcoming personality. Okay. Studio of the Year went to CG Projekt Red, which says a lot because it's just the DLC that they've done. Innovation of the Year went to Pokemon Go. Is that even still a thing? Especially now that Pokemon Sun and Moon are out. The Lifetime Achievement Award went to Eiji Aonuma, the founder, creator of The Legend of Zelda. Steam got Best Gaming Platform, which I guess makes sense. Best Gaming Performance went to Doug Cockle as Geralt of Rivia in the Witcher 3 DLC. It says a lot that this DLC is getting so much credit over quite a lot of games that were hyped up and everything this year. Keep in mind, last year's most wanted game was Fallout 4. And other games that could have been in contention were like No Man's Sky and all sorts of other stuff, which just was like, Competitive Game of the Year went to Overwatch, which is somewhat fair, but I don't know if it actually works as an esport entirely. It's not doing too bad. It's starting alright, but I just feel it's going to get to a point where everyone's going to go, yeah, no. Nintendo Game of the Year went to Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess HD. So yeah, a re-release was Nintendo's Game of the Year. PlayStation Game of the Year was Uncharted 4. I can't argue with that, because it's a PS4 game. Xbox Game of the Year was Rise of the Tomb Raider, which says a lot because now it isn't just on Xbox anymore. And that a timed exclusive was the best game that they had. Better than Halo 5. Well, no, I guess that would have been last year. Let me have a look at the list. Oh, last year it was Ori and the Blind Forest. There we go. Halo gets no recognition. Good job, lads. And PC Game of the Year was Overwatch, even though it's on consoles as well. Some of these votes. Handheld Mobile Game of the Year went to Pokemon Go. Can't remember what I voted for, but it certainly wasn't Pokemon. because I felt that that was a good fad, but I don't think it's going to have it. There was a lot of people expecting that when it came out, there was going to be, storms of people, which there were for the first few weeks. And then because of that app really, no updates of any substantial nature, not coming until like even now. It was like a few update earlier this week. It's just nonsensical. Lara Croft went in the Hall of Fame. Is that a new category? Because I don't remember there being any Hall of Fame thing before. Oh, also, last year there was an Esports Icon Award. That never happened this year. There was a Breakthrough Award, though, for Eric Barone, the one-man army behind Stardew Valley, which is full credit. At least it got some recognition. That's good to see. The critics gave their Game of the Year award to Titanfall 2, which I'm hoping to get as part of this sale. The most wanted game by the public is currently Mass Effect Andromeda, apparently. But the ultimate game of the year, as voted by the fans, is Dark Souls 3. Keep that in mind. Keep quite a lot of that in mind. Because overall, I'd say, with a few odd decisions here and there, that's a pretty good list. And then we get to the Game Awards. The definitive. Which, let's just say, the last year when it sort of launched and they were making a big thing about it, it seemed good. Some would argue it's a bit weird that things like Her Story got best storytelling over The Witcher because they're shorter games. But some of the moves here I would question were just as strange. Anyway, best esports game. The nominees are Counter-Strike, Go, Dota 2, League of Legends, Overwatch, and Street Fighter 5. Yeah, that game that's totally split the esports community is apparently esports game of the year contender. You can see we're already going skew-if. That can apparently be voted for by the public. I can't be bothered to, because bug it. Best esports team, SK Telecom T1 for League of Legends, Wings Gaming for Dota 2, Rox Tigers for League of Legends, SK Gaming for everything, and Cloud9 for everything. That's the thing. For the other ones, it's like specifically that team. But for SK Gaming, it's like, okay, what you actually mean is luminosity, although actually if you actually look at the form that SK has, at least in terms of Counter-Strike, it's gone way down since earlier on in the year. And Cloud9, they've done pretty well, but then of course it's the whole entity, so you've got all the different ones, there's no actual certain team to focus on. Whereas with your SKT1s and your Rox Tigers from League of Legends, it's them. So it's much clearer. Speaking of much clearer, for best esports player, you've got Faker from League of Legends, Coldzera from Counter-Strike Go, Beyond from StarCraft 2, Infiltrator from Street Fighter 5, and Hungrybox from Super Smash Bros. Yeah, they actually recognised him just because he was on the stage at E3 a year ago, or a year and a half ago. Then we have Best Fan Creation, which the nominees were Pokemon Uranium, Project A2MR, Brutal Doom 64, and Enderroll, The Shards of Order. But basically, I think because Nintendo were not happy, the list is now just Brutal Doom 64 and Enderroll, The Shards of Order. The Metroid fan-made game and the Pokemon fan-made game have disappeared. So I think by default, judging on that list, I would personally choose Enderall because a lot of people have said, you know, it's got a better story than Skyrim, which says a lot, because that was a pretty good game in itself. But I find it interesting that Nintendo pulled their properties, but Brutal Doom 64, which I think is, from the title, means it's on Brutal Doom has been put on an N64 cartridge or something. Why didn't they pull that? Because it's on their console. Who knows? Trending Gamer, they've actually got a pretty strong list this year, featuring Boogie2988, Francis Angry Joe, Danny O'Dwyer, Jacksepticeye, and Lyric. I think on that list, some of the people that I like more, which is Angry Joe, Boogie, and Danny, are gonna get murdered, because the fact that 100,000 people every Sunday watch Lyric streams, and Jacksepticeye, has got millions of fans on YouTube. Then again, I thought that, but then everybody rallied around Total Biscuit 2 years ago, and Greg Miller last year. And again, Greg Miller's a bit of a character in himself, so I don't know. We'll have to see. And then most anticipated game, the nominees are God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, Mass Effect Andromeda, Red Dead Redemption 2, and Legend of Zelda. That's a tough one. From what I played of Horizon Zero Dawn, that's actually the least of the 5, because the demo that they showed was so disheartening and tiny. It was like, wow, they don't have enough confidence yet. So I don't know. Any one of them could win. I personally won't give a pick. Best multiplayer, there's 6 nominees. You've got Battlefield 1, Gears 4, Overcooked, Overwatch, Titanfall 2, and Rainbow Six Siege. Most notably, no Call of Duty. Obviously, that's referring to... No, that would actually be referring to the last one that's just come out, which I think tells you everything that's wrong with Call of Duty Infinite Warfare right now. The multiplayer hasn't changed. It's too similar to previous iterations. For sports games, you've got your FIFA and your Pro Evos for this year, along with NBA 2K17, MLB The Show 16, and Forza Horizon 3. If anything, Forza Horizon 3 should win, because that game I think anybody could actually play. It feels like that sort of pick up and play stuff. Best family game, we had Dragon Quest Builders, Lego Star Wars, Pokemon Go. It's a mobile game. How is it I know it's family friendly, but Ratchet and Clank and Skylanders Imaginators. Where's World of Final Fantasy? Who the honk? Who the honk made this list? If you've played that game, you know the reference. Best strategy game, we've got Civ 6, Fire Emblem Fates, Banner Saga 2, Total War Warhammer, and XCOM 2. I forget that XCOM 2 came out in February. I'd honestly go with that one, though it's tough because Civ 6 is pretty good as well. Although all 5 of them are actually good. There's no sort of what the hell is that doing on the list. For best fighting game, we've got Killer Instinct, King of Fighters 14, Pokken Tournament, and Street Fighter 5, because they're the only fighters that came out. Best RPG, we've got Dark Souls, Deus Ex, Witcher 3, Blood and Wine DLC, Warcraft Legion, and Xenoblade Chronicles X. I mean, and this is spoilers for what's to come. If Dark Souls 3 doesn't win this, that means it gets no recognition from this award ceremony, because it's the only thing it's up for. The fan voted Game of the Year to the Golden Joysticks and could probably win the BAFTAs, although that's not till March, April time. gets no recognition whatsoever. Possibly. Best Action Adventure Game, we got Dishonored 2, Hitman, Hyper Light Drifter, Ratchet and Clank and Uncharted 4. I'd say that's pretty fair. It's a good, strong list. I think there's one game that's way too overpowered for that list. Isn't that right, Nathan? Best Action Game, we got Battlefield 1, Doom, Gears 4, Overwatch and Titanfall 2. See, is it an action game or is it a multiplayer? I guess you got Battlefield 1 in there as well. That's sort of a tough one because it could. I'd say it's a toss-up between Doom and Titanfall 2. Best VR game. Okay, well we got Batman Arkham VR, Eve Valkyrie, Job Simulator, Res Infinite, and Thumper. Actually, all 5 of them are solid. You know, they're very good to excellent. Personally, I'd go with personally, I'd probably go with Thumper because that's a really underrated game I don't think enough people have played. But then, Job Simulator is so accessible to everyone. I'd personally go with that one because it's not really a sort of genre. It's from what I've seen of people playing it, it is a very great introduction to VR, which, considering how all the big headsets are out now, apart from HoloLens, which isn't really VR, it's more AR and stuff, I would say that would be a good one. Best mobile handheld, we got Clash Royale. Did that even come out this year? I don't know. Fire Emblem Fates, Monster Hunter Generations, Severed, and Pokemon Go. So yeah, only one of them, I think. No, 2 of them, because of Fire Emblem Fates, are actually console games. Clash Royale, which is a pay-to-win bitch, even though it sort of isn't, but it still, to some extent, is in there. So Pokemon Sun and Moon, even though it would have come out, because apparently like the deadline for when games have to come out is Thanksgiving to Thanksgiving. So it's not exactly 365 days, but Pokemon Sun and Moon could have easily been in there, but it isn't. So I don't know. The best independent game, we got Firewatch, Hyper Light Drifter, Inside, Stardew Valley, and The Witness. Now with this one, it's interesting because arguably, if we think about it, some of the really good games, like arguably you could classify Planet Coaster as being pretty good, you know, as it's been out for the past few weeks, and that hasn't got any recognition. And then other big hits on PC like Darkest Dungeon, that's really got nothing as well, which is a shame. Don't get me wrong, the 5 that we've got are pretty solid, but if you take into account that speed runs of The Witness in any percent and like now down to about 20 minutes or something, and Firewatch and Inside are relatively short experiences. Okay, they're pretty compelling, but still short experiences. Whereas Stardew Valley is, something that you ain't going to finish in one sitting, unless you're like super hardcore. And Hyper Light Drifter, which is, medium sort of length. Something that's got a lot of possibilities and expansion to it, such as a Darkest Dungeon, gets nothing. Games for Impact, Quite a lot of these actually I haven't even heard of, so I'm not sure. 1979 Revolution Black Friday. Ha! Alright. Blockhood. Orwell, Sea Hero Quest, and That Dragon Cancer. Considering the story behind That Dragon Cancer, where it's the game's developers sort of recreating the experiences they and their kid went through when they found out their kid had terminal cancer. It's a pretty, that's something that I really hope gets recognition. Not to say anything against the others, but, that's been talked about for the last couple of years. I managed to play an early sort of alpha version. I guess it would have been 2 years ago. At the EGX Res event, as it was then. Close to me, before it relocated last year in 2015. And that was a very... even just a little bit that I saw, it was a compelling story, because you could tell it was real life. Probably also because the guy behind it was actually there. But, man. Got you right there. Best performance is 3 games with 6 performances. So we got Alex Hernandez for Lincoln Clay in Mafia 3, Cissy Jones as Delilah in Firewatch, Emily Rose as Elena in Uncharted 4, Nolan North as Nathan Drake in Uncharted 4, Rich Sommer as Henry in Firewatch, and Troy Baker as Sam Drake in Uncharted 4. I mean, there's probably other voice work that I'm not thinking of. But, I mean, it's a very Uncharted heavy one there, and I think it's probably going to go to Nolan North to crown, that series off and whatever. Although all the other performances are good. But the question is, and it always gets dragged into sort of, is the game good? Obviously, Her Story got quite a lot of recognition last year, both at these awards and the BAFTAs, which some people were very snooty about. But the story behind that is something somewhat rather deep, I would argue. For Best Music and Sound Design, you got Battlefield 1, Doom, Inside, Res Infinite, and Thumper. I mean, the 2 music games of Res Infinite and Thumper are arguably strong contenders in this one. I'd have to say Doom, because the music and the sound and how it all combines together in that game is ridiculously one of the best, arguably one of the key best features of that game. So, I'll put that one over. We'll have to see what happens next week. Best Art Direction, we've got Abzu, Firewatch, Inside, Overwatch, and Uncharted 4. Which, I'd say for the quality of graphics that we've got, is fair. Best Narrative, we've got Firewatch, Inside, Mafia 3, Oxenfree, and Uncharted 4. See, although Mafia 3's story stuff is good, I think the rest of the game just really hurts the story, even though it does stand alone and has one of the best post-credit sequence endings I've seen in quite a while in movies or video games. But that means, with Best Narrative, The Witcher 3 DLC, which is probably just as strong as the original game, which I think it won the award for last year, I think. Although, no, I think it actually lost to Her Story. That means Witcher 3 is going to get no recognition at all in terms of story. whether it be for the original game or the DLC. When you think about that, that's wrong. And considering all the so-called problems that there were over Uncharted 4 and its, troubled release, with writers leaving and actors leaving the project, they pulled that out the hat. So I'd have to say that one on that, but honestly, if Witcher 3 was in there, that would have won. Oxenfree is a very good game in terms of story. Inside, that is so open to interpretation of story, just like its previous game from Playdead, Limbo was, that it's sort of, can you classify it as story because you're making it up yourself? Because there's certain ways you can interpret things that happen in the game. Is that sort of what you want from a story? Do you want it to be a choose-your-own adventure? Because then, arguably, is it a good narrative? Because you're just making people having to make the narrative for themselves. I don't know. For Best Game Direction, we've got Blizzard for Overwatch, DICE for Battlefield 1, ID Software for Doom, Naughty Dog for Uncharted 4, and Respawn for Titanfall 2. See, I don't want to give too much credit to Doom because I want to screw over Bethesda. Because I think the things that they're doing to this industry right now, and in turn to consumers, is not a good thing. With its, nobody's gonna get to play the game until the game comes out for everybody. So if a game's shit, people won't know ahead of time. They're saying, we're doing it because of Doom. You got lucky with Doom because they're saying, sales were down for Fallout 4 because the story got leaked early because everybody saw the end credits. I still want to play that game, but the reason why I've waited is, 1, I want to get it for cheaper, and 2, it's probably less buggy and problematic, which seems to be the trend with all Bethesda games. See Skyrim Remastered, which you'd have thought they could have, considering it's been 4 or 5 years since the original game, they could get out the bugs that were in the original game, but no, that's just in the remastered version. And Dishonored 2, with a lot of its issues, certainly for PC users. So there you go. And then Game of the Year, the list of 5 are Doom, Inside, Overwatch, Titanfall 2 and Uncharted 4. Which, it's interesting for Inside, again, because yes, it's got good visuals, it's got pretty good gameplay, it's got decent sound design, story, depends how you look at it. But that, it's good to see these indies get the recognition. But in some cases I'm thinking it's the wrong indies. And in other cases I think you're putting indies in there for the sake of having representation of them. When arguably there are AAA titles which have come out stronger. Let's give credit to the indies for that. A lot more of the mainstream AAA titles have stepped their game up and delivered some pretty incredible stuff, considering how people could argue that things have been getting stale. I would personally say the Call of Duty story mode is one of the strongest things Call of Duty has produced in years. Probably since the story mode in the Modern Warfare trilogy. And it's going to get no recognition because it's bunged in with the same multiplayer that we've had for arguably the last 2 or 3 years. And a Call of Duty game that we've had non-stop since Call of Duty 2, 11 years ago, because obviously games come out every year between 2005 and now, so we're on the 12th game in the series. You know, when you think that Call of Duty 1 came out in 2002 and was, you know, lauded, you know, the console sort of separate version, Call of Duty Finest Hour, was lauded. So then 2005 Call of Duty 2 came out. Big Red 1, I think as it was called on the consoles. You know, really good. But then they said Call of Duty 3 is coming out in 2006. And then, of course, okay, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, or Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, whatever you want to call it, was pretty damn exceptional for 2007. But then, of course, because you're getting one year after year after year, it's like you can annualize sports games because that's, you know, sports don't, well, unless there's like major sort of strikes and whatever. But the theory is sports don't stop. You know, you're going to get an NFL season every year. You're going to get an NHL season every year. You're going to get an NBA season every year. You know, in theory, obviously, I know some seasons never happened or didn't fully happen due to legal things and everything. You know, soccer, football is going to happen every year. All that sort of stuff. You know, but it's not like a war game. You know, a war's going to happen every year that people are going to be embracing in. You know, most people don't want to think about the wars. They use games to escape. You know, oh yeah, let's escape into warfare. It sort of seems nonsensical, and the fact that, you know, Ubisoft realised people had Assassin's Creed fatigue. That's why we're not getting an Assassin's Creed game this year. Instead, we're getting Steep, which is the snowboarding / skiing / hang gliding / base jumping game. From what I can tell, at least from what I saw from the beta, nobody wants, because it's trying to be simulation when the whole idea of snowboarding games that have been successful, 1080 snowboarding, Cool Borders, the old SSX games, is the crazier fun crap, the better. The more and more it goes, oh, you're on a real mountain and you've got to do your tricks but have control over it. It's like, no. Games are escapism, not, oh, well, I've got to do my balance perfect, otherwise I won't be able to do the next trick, even though that trick is not going to be some crazy trick that I can do, because Steep, just from what I saw of Steep, which, you know, if that gets in Game of the Year next, or like Sports Game of the Year next year, I'd be amazed. Steep made me yearn to go play SSX Tricky again. So yeah, it's. They also announced that the Icon Award, or whatever it is, you know, the sort of lifetime achievement thing, this year will go to Hideo Kojima because of, you know, his legacy to the video game industry. You know, we're actually going to be, I'm pretty sure, next year will be the 30th anniversary of Metal Gear, which, no matter what Kojima, or no matter what Konami may say, was created by Kojima. It's just, it's a Konami property. So yeah, and, you know, plus, you know, we've got Konami's whatever it is, zombie crap. I'm still going to probably buy Metal Gear Solid 5, because I know it's one of the deals that I can get in terms of the sale, which might make people think, oh, you're a heretic, you know, you're going against yourself. I want to experience that game in person. Now, all I've been able to see is streams and YouTube videos and reviews and all that sort of stuff. And given that the definitive package is out now with both Ground Zeroes and Phantom Pain, I want to experience it as it is like that. And then wonder why the hell the zombie crap is coming next year. You know, let's look at the stuff that is Kojima, even though it clearly got cut off towards the end. Let's look at the actual Kojima-inspired stuff before it gets to somebody in Konami going, yeah, money, making it rain. I'm making it rain on myself. Sad face. So there you go. Who knows what else we're going to see? I mean, because Kojima's there, we're probably going to see some Death Stranding. We might see some new Zelda stuff. We might see some new Sony content. I'm guessing possibly some more Andromeda, because we're building up to that in a few months. Hell, there might even be a new stuff. Considering that Telltale games have been announced at these shows for the last few years, and they've just announced that there's going to be a Telltale Guardians, or they didn't announce, but it's widely believed that there's going to be a Telltale Guardians of the Galaxy game coming, as well as this December. We might even get the first trailer for Episode 1 of Walking Dead Season 3. Now, it says a lot that those are the things I'm most excited about. Honestly, it's just... oh, man. Yeah, the trailers are more exciting than the awards at an award show. Notice the problem?